heavily down in the last two corners. Oh, Rizzo goes down. He's going to get it done as he's pushed down the inside. And that's pushed Connor wide.
And it looks like Danny Webster is just about made it. He's going to make it there.
Oh, wow.
Dale Braden.
Down the outside there, side by side, a little bit of contact. Odegaard has managed to catch the goal. He's going to make it. First time in, three guys going side by side down into Curvin Grande. This is going to be epic.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to FGM eCast on your Tuesday evening. It is the Aus Pro-Am Sim Series, and we're live from Watkins Glen for round two. I'm going to call it round one, but it is officially round two here. We're back in our favourite formula, the GT3s, for the first time this season. As usual, I am joined by my good mates in crime, Carl Withy and Scotty Rankin. Welcome, gentlemen.
Good evening,
Stuart.
Scotty.
Just, I've got to work out a better way of doing that. I realise when I just roll in and introduce both of you at the same time that you're both sitting there probably thinking who's going to jump first, and then you both jump at the same time. Just terrible, terrible conduct from the person driving the stream here tonight. So I apologise for that. But so we'll start off. Scotty, how are you tonight?
Oh, good, man. Good, really good. Lead up now to the not officially known as Le Mans 24 hours. 24 hours of Southern France racing event. So we're in the lead up to that. How about you guys?
Yeah, I'm well, Carl.
Yes, very good here. Very excited for tonight. Watkins Glen, one of my favourite tracks in America. Seeing GT3 cars going around here is a fantastic sight, and especially this season it's going to be exciting because we have two new manufacturers in the fold.
Yeah, we most certainly do. Joining the Lamborghini, the BMW and the Ferrari from last season, I should say, is the Lamborghini and my favourite car on iRacing, the GT3 Porsche, which is on screen at the moment. We've got a couple of new things to go through tonight as well. You might notice, for those astute viewers on the stream, that we've got a new setup here tonight as well for the stream. Broadcasting it tonight, so let's be honest, there'll probably be a couple of problems with it, no doubt, but we tried to iron out as many of those bugs as we can, or point out a few of those features as we can throughout the evening. But let's roll into things tonight, gentlemen. After a frantic round one last week, I brought up the track map on the screen here for practice. We've only got about 5 minutes to go before we get into qualifying proper. And what we're seeing at the moment is basically a snake making its way around. Half the track is empty, half the track is full. We've got 60 cars on track again tonight. What are we expecting to see tonight, Scotty?
Well, I'm going to go ahead and point out one of those features now. That's actually not a snake making its way around the track. That is everybody that's in the server. We can only draw so many cars. So when they get to the lead group and they fall off, and then when they get too far behind, they also fall off, and you pick up a new car somewhere. So that's what it is. This is the most cars we've ever had on track. We saw a lot of teething issues last week with 60 cars split across two classes. That was a little bit more difficult. My multi-class racing does create those issues. However, 60 cars at Watkins Glen. Watkins Glen has this knack for creating issues going up the S's, and that's the section that you want to get through nice and cleanly lap one. My focus, if I'm any one of these drivers, get me through the first 5 minutes, then we'll think about racing.
Yeah, absolutely. And Carl, you mentioned that this is actually one of your favourite tracks here in the United States. Why is that?
It's the mix of speed and the precision of the S's. Getting up that hill, as Scotty was talking, those first couple of corners, turns 3, 4, turns 2, 3 and 4, up through the S's to the back straight. One of my favourite spots. That bus stop so fast going through that left-right-hander to the outer loop. Just a fantastic experience to have in any car. Any car you drive around here, it's always a fun time. It is also a really fun track to race on because you get a good mix of drafting and a good chance for braking potential as well. Really got to be late on the brakes in some of those corners. You can really make it work for yourselves.
So we're going to run through a qualifying lap as always, Carl. Get you to bring us through that one. We've got a pre-recorded lap again to go through this week, so we'll probably try and jump into that a little bit before qualifying in a couple of minutes, so stick around for that. One of the changes we try to make here this week, this is class racing, so we do have a Pro Series and an AM Series running here at the same time. So you'll see on the sides of the cars, if you're observant enough, that you've got a blue sticker and a green sticker. Green sticker means Pro. There are drivers who've either by iRating have qualified in the top or fastest percentage of our qualifiers during the qualifying sessions that are run prior to this series starting. Yellow are our AM, so the next following drivers beyond that who didn't quite make the cut but still fast enough to make the series. So popular was this series that they've had to cap the entries at 71 entries. There's a couple of reasons for that. First and foremost, the server limit of 63 cars means that it can't physically run 71. Not everyone runs every week, of course, which is why there's the 71 car limit. And secondly, because they just can't have a grid that will enable them to run that many drivers. So it's capped, it's qualifying that sets the limit in these cars. So last week we did have a wildcard series on, but this week we're in the cars they've qualified in as well. Season proper, the car that you qualified in is the car that you have to run for the length of the season, and that is them run and done. So they have to stick with the model that they've picked. There's no trackside switching. There's no, oh, I think that one's going to be a little bit better for me at this track or that track. What the manufacturer they've chose to run is the manufacturer they're going to drive with, and tonight that's why we're so excited we're going to get to see that. So if you're looking for the class leader, yellow on the screen on the timing table will show you the leader of our amateur series. Green, of course, the leader of our pro category as well. So you might see a few surprises there. Dale Breed currently running 9th, ex-V8 supercar driver. Of course, he is currently sitting 9th as the leader of our amateur class. And then above that, you do have all pro categories, including Jeff Connell currently sitting in 8th, who is our carryover champion from last year. Carryover champion, it sounds like I'm talking like we're on the set of Wheel of Fortune or something like that, but he is the current series champion, the number one car out there on track at the moment. So excited to be able to see that. Of course, it's reflected on the track map as well. So one of the changes we've made tonight, along with a couple of other that we'll leave for a little bit later on. So beyond that, guys, team championship as well this season.
Yeah, and the Teams Championship itself is actually a really good opportunity for the drivers to pick a buddy, go racing with buddies, and with, you know, we're going to have 60 people in the field most weeks. That's up to 30 teams. We're probably going to see somewhere in the realm of 15 to 20 teams. Not every driver wants to pick their buddy. Not every driver wants to compete in the Teams Championship. It's an optional side note that those guys can register in. It's an interesting opportunity, though, as well, because you can fight for something else that's a little bit more interesting. You know, there's more to play for than just originally why you're out there.
Yeah, absolutely right. So with that said, we've got about 20 seconds to get into qualifying, Carl. I'm going to bring the hot lap up on screen tonight, brought to us by Computer Technology Corporation, our main sponsor, and also HJ Plant Repairs getting in on the qualifying hot lap. So we'll get that one up on screen. Might get you to talk us through that lap, Carl, if you can.
This is where it's important to get a draft. You'll be able to get behind another car, be able to use that to your advantage. Coming up to the bus stop, right, left, left, right. Want to clip those curves. You want to make sure you get through there as quick as possible into the outer loop. Turn number 5. Long right-hander coming through here. Very easy to run wide. You can run a little bit wide though, because we're going to go down towards the chute, towards the left-hander. Turn number 6. Very tricky corner. It's a narrow set of the track. Very easy to make a mistake here. The grass on the right side there, very easy to get onto, very easy to spin the car. Up towards the toe now, as we're in the boot section. Turn number 7, long right-hander, another long straight here down the actual boot towards the hill. Uphill here, up to a blind crest going into turn number 8. This can be tricky, as all of a sudden you can come into a big mistake if there's a car crash there. Turn number 8 goes downhill, very easy to lock a right front brake. Up to turn 9, again going uphill again. You can use that to your advantage to brake a little bit later. Nice and wide exit on this corner. Just get on the outside, get a little bit of the curb. turn 10. There's a little bit of concrete on the exit of this corner in the centre bit. Getting through there, you want to use that concrete for your advantage, and into the final turn. Very nice cambered corner. You can carry a lot of speed through there, on to the front straight once more for a very fast lap of Watkins Glen.
We'll forgive him as we do jump back live here with qualifying, and we're on board at the moment with the Glenn Boyd entry. I'm not sure why the livery hasn't come up there, so we'll just reboot those as we get around. Now tonight here, the difficulty is going to be actually getting track position.
Speaking of track position, I was about to say something very familiar here about Formula One qualifying, and Fernando Alonso was the guy who got punished for it. He was on a quick lap, comes around to the last sector, there's cars all still vying for the little bits and pieces within track space. It's not easy. It's incredibly difficult. There are going to be cars that never get an actual attempt at a clean racing lap. And if you haven't left the pits yet, you're stuck there. All the cars running around the outside. You're just going to have to wing it and go for it, see what comes out the other side.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be very difficult here to find that position. As you say, we saw last week there were some drivers that missed out completely on qualifying times, which meant they started down the grid. Now, of course, tonight we will grid up in qualifying order, so it doesn't matter if you're a pro. If you don't get a fast lap in, you're going to be starting right down in the boondocks, and that can have a huge impact on the outcome of your race car.
Yeah, very much so. We saw it last time out. It was a bit different, of course, with the LMP, the prototype cars and the GT cars. All of these are GT cars, so it's much harder to pass in these cars as well. So you don't have the advantage of having a little bit of extra speed. So if you get caught right down the back of the pack and you are in the pro class, it's going to really hurt you tonight. Obviously, you can use a car in front of you to your advantage here, because there are some good parts of the track where you do get a little bit of the advantage from the draft, but you do get a little bit of dirty air through the corners. So the age you get down the straight, you lose a little bit in the corners sometimes. So you want to try and find a gap that's just right for you. It's that Goldilocks gap that you're looking for tonight.
And of course, with the 10-minute qualifying that we've got, it's one of the things that I'd like to see introduced into qualifying. Scotty, you spoke about Formula One. It'd be great if we could have an elimination-style qualifying series brought into iRacing as a component that we could use. That'd make things even more interesting in an elimination-style format like Formula One.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's an interesting option. The difficulty with it's so... you're never going to be able to get it right. You're always going to annoy someone. Someone's still not going to be able to get their opportunity. Then you're going to have to set up way. It's very, very tricky to get right a qualifying system in that sort of a vein. So look, if you can do it, if you can reach out to iRacing and they say, yeah, we can do it, look, all power to you. But the other thing is the logistics of it. It's just... It takes... You got to remember as well that... Formula One qualifying takes 45 minutes, so I would prefer to get into the race and see what we can do. And if we do the qualifying over multiple nights through the week, yeah, maybe it's an option. Maybe have a top 15 shootout. That's certainly doable. Have a pre-qualifying night and load the qualifying results from that in, and then your top 15 go and do the best that they can. That's another option.
Yeah, true. There are plenty of alternatives. We've got 5 minutes to go here. Just realising, for those of you who might be thinking, what is the purple on the screen? Purple is actually drivers who didn't race with us last week. iRacing setup allows us to export a list of the drivers that have run and won. Done a lot of work on that list in the week leading up to this one, but a couple of drivers just catching out there, so that will update in a moment or two. I might leave you gentlemen just to talk amongst yourselves as qualifying goes on here, just while I get those couple of drivers sorted out.
Yeah, what you were saying there, Scotty, could actually be a very useful thing as we get to some tracks later on in the season. I think of Belle Isle, and I think of the A1, sorry, the Red Bull Ring, not showing my age there at all. Osterreich Ring. But those very short are going to be very tricky. Big accident there.
That's exactly the car we're actually following, so was that... Not 100% sure who that one was, but anyway, heads down on with the show. Shane Wallace has punched out a 146.051 to put himself 0.2 of a second clear.
Set his lap as of yet in the ever classic black Jeff Connell car. Although there is a slight livery on it this time round. There is more than just black on it for a change, so that's fun to see.
And it's more than just the Mercedes as well.
It is. It's not a Mercedes, as much as I'm sure he'll try and pretend it is. He's going to be running the Lamborghini this time out, so a very different car. Obviously, very different engine placement as well. We've only got one car with the engine in the front in this series now. All the rest are in different spots.
Yeah, and you're also going to see that. I mean, the Porsche itself is brand spanking new to iRacing, so, you know, learning to adapt to what that's going to be offering us in terms of things is not going to be an easy ordeal. But on the flip side, you know, look, it's a different car. It handles differently. We've got the Ferrari. Guys love the Ferrari already. The BMW's been loved for the last couple of seasons. A car that's not even a year old yet. Lamborghini not even a year old yet. And now we're already talking new Porsches. So, look, we've got a really diverse field. The Porsche, when it initially took off, was incredibly popular, as well, any kid with a shiny new toy automatically is, you know, new toy, new thing, I want to play with it. So it took off quite strong, and then it's slowly come back to us over the course of multiple weeks, and here we are now. And the field split itself up. All the cars, remember, handle extremely differently. Probably best to start with that Lamborghini car.
Yeah, look, the Lamborghini mid-engine, of course, it's got a little bit of involvement with Audi, of course. It's not the Lamborghini of old, not what we think of when we think of Lamborghini. A lot of horsepower with a chassis that's a little bit to be desired, and reliability that is equal to that of a British car. A little bit more reliable these days, but an absolute weapon, the Lamborghini. Going to be fascinating to see how that one goes. In the hands of Shane Wallace, he is absolutely flying at the moment. But Jack Boyd is right behind him in the Beamer. The Beamer is close to it.
I dare to say a British car that's not fitted with Smith's Electricals, though. Let's be completely transparent about that.
A British Leyland car.
Very good.
That's a bit harsh on Lamborghini, in all honesty. But the Porsche, of course, Stuart. The Porsche. Tell us about the Porsche.
It's unfair to ask me to tell you about the Porsche because I absolutely love it. I'm a massive advocate for the RSR, so when the GT3 came out, I was like, yes, please, sign me up. How much do I have to pay for it? I'll get it. There's no coincidence that the demo lap here tonight was done in the Porsche. Some influence there over the driver of that car for the demo lap, which was equally why it was bad, but equally why it was done in the Porsche. I love it. It's a great car. Scotty's right. Look, they've pulled it back a little bit. It's the same thing. When the Lamborghini came out, it was quick and they draw it back. They're very good with the parity adjustments on iRacing to make sure everything's going to be where it's going to be. But let's look at it at the moment. We've got 30 seconds to go here. I'm going to just quickly change over here. We'll have a look at what car mix we've got, and we've got Lamborghini, BMW, Lamborghini, Ferrari. We've got two Porsches inside the top 10 as it currently sits. The parity in this series is all the cars are even, and that's based on extensive testing during the off season. So guys in the Porsche got a little bit of work to do here tonight.
One thing I would say, though, is Porsches can be a little bit tricky to drive sometimes. The engine being in the place where it is can sometimes throw you out a little bit, and they do take a little bit of a different driving style. Yeah,
look, we'll talk about this in a moment because your Aus Pro-Am Sim Series round number 1 of the GT3 segment after our wildcard round last week. Finally, we've got our qualifying grid for the season. Shane Wallace, surprise, surprise, off of pole position. Jack Boyd, not an unfamiliar sight from alongside him. Danny Davison, Ross Rizzo, Matty Carleone, Andrew Dyson, Luke Turner, Jack Wittes, Dennis Katarik, Graham Smythe, Paul Mansell, and Lee Harrison make up your top 12.
Then we head back. Sorry.
Next up, we have Bruce Cavallo with Timothy Hancock, Scott Gray with Guy Leach in 16th place. We have Adam Funslow and Mitchell Bolton with Maverick Benson there in 19th, and 20th is Matthew Kingsley.
Joshua Fitt, Dale Breed. We just skipped a couple drivers there. Fabian, Riddell, Hen, Rosenblatt, we will actually go for a full pacing lap, so don't get too argy-bargy with moving on. So Dustin Fletcher, Aaron Lawler, Chris Sturdy, Brady Buchanan, Matty Dench, Daniel Webster, Mike Casey, Glenn Boyd, mentioned earlier in the evening, Stuart, not getting the qualifying he was after.
No, absolutely right. And we head back to Lachlan Capel. We've got Richard Brookfield. Watch out for Brookfield. He's extremely quick. I was watching him doing some of the practice during the week. Don't be super surprised to see him make his way up the field there. I'd say that's a bad qualifying run that's caught him out. Jordan Peter, we've got Oscar Glycert as well as Tim Audie, Grant Park. Then we head back to Luke Fitt, James Pettigrew. We've got Derek Audie, Phil Audie, Sam Lehman and Daniel Cheney before we go over to yet another page here in the Aus Pro-Am Sim Series.
Yeah, that's Brandon Levin, John Baldwin, Timothy Harris, Liam Caplice, Edward Foster, Andrew Hayes, Andre Heimgartner, all the way back in 55th. Isaac Edwards, John Merritt, Jeff Connell off of 58th on the grid. That's no qualifying time set for Jeff Connell, and Hayden Jackson, 59. So, last season's winner off of the back row of the grid, lads. That's not the start Connell was after.
No, not at all there. The qualifying session there, just the thing that's probably caught him out. Same with Edward Foster as well. Would have expected to see him a little bit further up the field. New entrant here in the AM class, but qualified really well during the qualifying. So plenty of drivers here who's got caught out. It's the thing they're going to have to learn. It's a new thing that they're going to have to learn coming into Aus Pro-Am is to make sure that they plan out their qualifying session. You can see the experience there of those drivers who are used to it, who have done it before. For those joining us for the first time tonight, it is a 20-minute first race we're going to run here. Then we do our 40-minute feature race. Top 15 finishes from this race are going to be reverse ordered as well. So there might be a little bit of strategy. I don't know. It's dare I say, a tinfoil hat prediction, but there's a little bit of sense of trying to make your way through the field in this first race, get a better position for the second race, and try and run in that longer stint where you can pit early, get out of the traffic, and try and make your way up the field.
Traffic management's going to be key tonight. Of course, they do start on a low fuel load as well. All these cars start on a much lower fuel load, so they don't have a full tank, so it means they will all have to pit for each race. So you might see a few people jump in early to try and get out of the traffic, try and get some clean air for running in this race, because that's going to be crucial. When you're not running bunched up in the traffic, you can make some seriously good positions. So expect to see a few people pitting early to try and take advantage of that one.
Yeah, just having a quick look through that field, though. Andre Heimgartner, man, he would not be happy with that by any stretch of the imagination. That is a poor qualifying effort from him. Just clearly didn't get the track position that he was after, didn't get the ability to set the lap, and unfortunately, there she goes. You're now mired back probably about 40 places minimum from where he would have liked to have been. I want to keep my eyes on him in the early running. Watkins Glen, I was talking about it earlier, going up through the S's on lap number 1. How many times, Stuart, have we seen chaos in the S's on lap 1?
Oh, absolutely. It's going to be odds on here as well. The only difference here with Aus Pro-Am, obviously, is the quality of the drivers. We see a lot of clean running from these guys as well, so expect them to manage the race, but they might get caught out on cold tyres. Of course, they're going to run wide. There's going to be plenty who are going to use plenty of that track on turn 1 as well. It's going to be hairy up into the flip-flop for the first time around.
Don't forget, you're going to have guys that are going to be mired back in the pack, starting exactly where the cars are on the screen right now. You can't see the entire field. They're still coming. They're still only halfway around the track. There's a lot for these guys to deal with. It's time for race number 1 of season number 4 of the GT3 segment of Aus Pro-Am Sim Series, proudly brought to you by HJ Plant Repairs, SingRibs.com, Phoenix Smokers, Computer Technology Corporation, and 93PC. It's time to go racing, boys. Lights are going to go out in a few moments. Shane Wallace controls the field down to turn number 1. Keep your eyes on Jack Boyd from the outside, holding formation, and away they go. Green lights are on. It is race time. 20 minutes for the first race of the day. Shane Wallace pulls away. Boyd looks to the inside, looks to the outside. Going to be no room there. They are 3 wide, well deep into the pack, and it all seems to be clean and clear through the first turn. Still 3 wide back there a little bit, but it is Wallace that'll lead us to the bus stop for the first time.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see Andrew Dyson there, Matty Cartaglione battling it out just a few positions further back. It also looks like Luke Turner and the guys battling away as we make our way back down up towards the bus stop for the first time. This is where we're going to sort one another out. There's got to be plenty of room given us. There's a little bit of a bump on the inside there. You can see a Lamborghini coming shooting across down the inside. Just manages to get it pulled up there in the background. I'm just I think that might have been De Cavalio who just got caught out there, Carl.
A little bit further back, Hayden Jackson getting caught out on the top of the S's. He lost the back of that Porsche, spun around, luckily didn't catch anyone else out.
Well, that's phenomenal to get through the S's on the first lap with a spinning car, no damage. The cars are under most load there at that point of the lap, so that's a phenomenal job from a 60-car field. Shane Wallace leads them off the line for the first time, leads us down into the hill for the first time. Still with Jack Boyd filling that rear view mirror. Everyone has just about sorted themselves out at this point in time. I think we might be on for a fuel-saving race, boys.
Could well be. Interestingly, Jeff Connell decided to start from pit lane, so he is way off the back at the moment. So he's got a lot of clean air to take advantage of. He is a long, long way down, though, so he's got a lot of places to try and make up tonight.
It's a huge, huge field here to try and cover again, so we'll do our best to do what we can
as
here.
We've got a car around a little bit further back. We have got Liam Caplice going around in turn number 10, just getting caught out there, going around a big, big accident for him, unfortunately, and he's lost the whole front end of that Lamborghini.
Yeah, that'll be an early pit stop for Liam Caplice. Guys already diving to the pit lane. A lot of cars in the pit lane. I thought I saw about 10, 15 of those boys already diving on a pit lane. Wallace will continue to lead away from the front. Sorry, Wallace, is that Jack Boyd? No, Wallace is leading us away.
Yeah, Wallace is leading away.
Ignore the ticker for a few moments. Obviously, 60 cars mixed in with telemetry, timing, and data does not work sometimes, but that's Jack Boyd right underneath his rear view mirror. And Ross Rizzo, the master of fuel saving from last season. Remember him coughing and spluttering over the line at the Nürburgring. Instead, that car ran out when he didn't want it to and forfeited a place right at the last. Can he out fuel save the fuel meister in Shane Wallace?
Just with that instant with him complete, it was Andre Heimgartner caught up with him there. They just made contact on the exit of the corner and it caused Caplice to go round. So that was the reason for that incident, unfortunately. Heimgartner is working his way up the field. He's up into 47th place from 55th spot on the grid.
More than one lap to grab yourself a whole host of places. Great start for Andre Heimgartner. Like I said, we'll have to keep an eye on him. He has to keep that car clean and free of trouble, or it's going to be a long, long night. Other than that, out in front...
We've got a big incident down at turn number 1. We have got cars... sorry, not turn number 1, down towards the hill, down towards turn number 8, I think it was. James Pettigrew getting caught up with Jordan Peter there. Jordan Peter going around, and big accident down there.
Yeah, so there's cars up in the background here as well. There's a lot of drivers opting to take an early stop here to try and free themselves of the congestion that is on track at the moment. You can see there, pit lane very, very busy indeed. Pettigrew, Edwards, you've got Jackson as well into pit lane. So very, very busy indeed.
It's going to be busy all night long with 58 cars that need to be, 59 cars I believe it was, that need to be serviced at some point during both of our races. Shane Wallace though, well, look, his windscreen has been the cleanest out of everyone's so far tonight. Not had to look at any other car except for the pace car out that one, so he's had a perfect run so far, but everyone else in behind him starting to settle in. I'm actually keeping an eye on Matty Carlione. He's doing a phenomenal job. That's I'd say he's punching above his weight tonight there, sitting in 6th.
Yeah,
there are some
absolutely.
really good drives going on at the moment, and there is a lot of nose-to-tail action throughout the field. It's a bit hard to know exactly where to look at the moment. You just talked about Carlione there. He's got Jack Widders all over the back of him. Luke Turner's up there as well. So it's battles all across the pack at the moment. Bolton at the moment has got a lot of cars behind him. There's a bit of a train forming up behind him and Timothy Hancock. So we've got a couple of big trains forming up, and this is the thing, when you get caught behind somebody that's a little bit slower, maybe running a different fuel strategy, maybe trying to run a little bit of a longer fuel run, it can catch you out here and it can become tricky to pass.
Dennis Guitaric, who we welcome back to the series this season, Paul Mansell, Maverick Benson, all jumping into pit lane to carry out their service 5 minutes into this race. Tell you what, it's interesting, boys. I wasn't expecting to see the BMW be this quick around a track like this. Of course, the BMW not known necessarily for its handling. A couple of high speed sections, of course, here as well. But certainly here, Shane Wallace, albeit he is leading, currently doesn't have the fastest lap of the race. That goes to Jack Boyd, who's directly behind him. So the pressure is on for the lead of the race.
I was very much about to say that Boyd was all over the back of Wallace then. He is over him like a rash at the moment. That BMW is definitely fast down the straight. Watch out later in the stint though. We saw the BMWs tended to be a little bit harder on their tyres as the stint went on, whereas some of the other cars from last season were a little bit kinder on the tyres. We saw the BMW struggling a little bit towards the end of the stint. Will we see that happen tonight?
Well, so actually on with the BMW as well. It's a really good opportunity to talk about iRacing took some advice, took some feedback from BMW, took some feedback from its members on board recently, and there was an engine note change applied to the BMW. Now it's got a lot more pop, crackle and fizz to it, Stuart.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just trying to catch that actually, Scotty, but I grabbed the wrong side of the car for the exhaust. So we're riding on here with Jack Boyd. Love seeing the Boyd family back involved in this series, of course, staunch supporters of it. In seasons 1 and 2, Jack got drawn away from it for some opportunities during season 3, but he's back here racing with his father as part of Boyd Racing, so we love to see that. Good view here out of the right-hand front wheel of the BMW that we're on board of, and you will hear it. They did change it. It sounded a little bit funny. We put a lap up of it actually around Long Beach when that track came out. You can have a look at that, but it's got a lot more throat to it now, which it should have, as Boyd just runs wide there on the entry into turn 1. You hear the stones clicking through as well, so we'll try and catch some sound there. Probably not the best track for it, because there's not a lot of huge back-off sections where they're heavily shifting down here. We'll stick with it until we get into the horseshoe, but or the flip-flop. It's probably not going to do it for us, I don't think, just because it's not too good. He's got a good run on the actually underneath, just sticking out to Wallace there, but yeah, it's not doing it for us tonight. But we will jump back to that during the season, Scotty, because you're right. As both the guys decide to do a little bit of Jim's mowing there, down into the sweeper. Not quite able to get the job done here. Wallace will be feeling the pressure from Boyd. He's had a really good start to this race and really putting the pressure on for P1 at the moment.
Yeah, I just heard some comments directly coming from Jack Wittes and Matty Cartaleone. It looks like Wittes has finally gotten past Cardo, and it looks like it happened through the bus stop as well. So Wittes has now been released from Cardo. Cardo's made the switch this season. He is one of the series administrators along with Sam Lehman. Last season was running in the BMW. Lamborghini wasn't an option last season. Well, he makes that switch immediately to the Lamborghini, and I think that car's working for him.
We've got a good battle going on between Bolton and Gray at the moment. Scott Gray was side by side with Bolton for P10 and P9 and 10 at the moment, and they go side by side once again. Gray trying to go around the outside. Bolton managed to get the position a little bit earlier on, but Gray is trying to come back at him. The Porsches are battling it out through Watkins Glen at the moment. This is allowing Cavallio and Kingsley just to catch up to the back of these two as well as they battle on.
As our race leaders jump into pit lane, Wallace, Boyd, Rizzo, Davison, Dyson, Wittes and Cartaleone all jump through pit lane. Now the fuel economy here will be an interesting one that we've got to learn, as well as the huge queue of Porsches jump into pit lane too. So now Michael Fabian is the lead. No, he's jumped in as well. So there's plenty jumping through pit lane now. Trying to keep up with them as we speak, but it is a busy time down there. Reminiscent, Carl, of an NASCAR evening.
Yeah, it's a little bit like a NASCAR-style pit stop, isn't it, really? Just everybody coming in at once. And one thing you will notice is cars going into each other as well. That isn't an error on the screen. That is actually what happens because there are so many pit stalls. You run out of pit stalls eventually, so some people have to share them. And that can throw you off sometimes. It can be a little bit of a distracting thing when you've got to drive into a pit stall with another car sitting there.
And Jack Boyd just struggling a little bit through pit lane there. He's shot 1.5 seconds off to Shane Wallace at the lead of this race. He's now got to contend with Ross Rizzo in the Trick Esports Lamborghini. Love that livery. It's good to see Ross back for another season. Incredibly quick last season as well. And as we came to know him, he's probably got a boot full of fuel in that Lamborghini. Better at fuel management than just about everyone else on track.
swear, is that guy just got like a funnel hooked up right next to his driver's seat, and he's got a gas tank between the legs? He just pours it in whilst he's driving. That's basically the rate that Ross Rizzo will save some fuel at. Casting eyes back, so pit stops will now have basically cycled themselves out. Shane Wallace, we saw him make this move last week in the Daytona prototype, the DPI cars. He was able to get clear of everyone else in the pit stops. Everyone else able to run the same pace as him, just not burn the same amount of fuel as him. And unless there might be a Lamborghini thing, because you got to remember, Ross Rizzo's made the jump here as well.
Yeah, Jeff Connell not coming in for a pit stop as of yet, I believe. So he is.
Didn't Connell make a stop on the first lap?
But he started from pit lane. So
Okay.
he started from pit lane. I don't think you can fill up from that. So I think because he started from pit lane, he's just saved a little bit of fuel by not going around for that outlap though.
Keeping our eyes back through the pack.
There's a bit of a spin behind Connell. It is Cavallio just spinning that car in the worst spot possible. He's going to have to wait for all of those cars to go through now. It's going to be a long way.
Oh!
Somebody else gets caught up in that one.
That is absolute chaos, but nearly 60 cars on the road. It was going to happen at some point in time. Everyone is using their best amount of patience. It's just around the next corner as well. There's another car I just saw parked sideways on my screen, so there's more to unravel out of all of this one. It's not just Bruce Carvalho. There's not just two cars. There's going to be three that are facing in the wrong direction.
Yeah, Casey and Fabian getting caught up with that as well. Those two went round. Casey took the worst of it though. He's lost the front end of that car and had to do a bit of an Austin Powers style move to get that car in the right position.
We'll jump back up to the front here.
Yeah, it's going to be Shane Wallace continuing to lead it away, and it looks like, is that Ross Rizzo chasing Jack Boyd? It is. So Jack Boyd has managed to grab the legs on that Lamborghini and tie them down a bit with the BMW, and you can see he's actually pulling away a little bit actually in a straight line whilst Ross Rizzo's in the draft. So unless Ross Rizzo had to save more fuel, and the only way that he was going to be able to do that was to let Jack Boyd go, that might work in his favour though.
Yeah, it's about playing the fuel saving, playing the cars right, getting everything to the end of the race now, just working out what's going to be the best way of shuffling that car through to get it working. I am wondering a little bit, we saw Jack Boyd just drop off a little bit of time from Wallace, and he's sort of getting some good pace, and he's having that battle with Rizzo, but I'm wondering if that BMW is just starting to struggle a little bit on the tyres as we start to go on in the race.
Yeah, we did lose some time in pit lane as well, Carl. He was a second down on Wallace in total pit lane transit time. That's where he lost the time to Rizzo, who was basically as quick as Wallace as well. So just pit lane time, maybe the BMW a little slower to fuel than the Lamborghini, because just having a look back down through the field, and the BMWs versus the Lamborghinis, albeit they're a little bit few and far between, did generally seem to fuel a little bit slower.
I was just actually having a listen on board with Ross Rizzo that time coming on to the bus stop. Yep, there was a big rollout on the throttle. Ross Rizzo doing Ross Rizzo things and saving as much fuel as he possibly can do. So, you know, all things considered, Ross Rizzo is back doing what he was doing last season, albeit in a different shaped car. This one's a little bit lower, a little bit longer, not quite as big and bulky and passenger sedan looking as the BMW, but look, Lamborghini, it's got a beautiful engine note, doesn't it? That's the real enjoyment that you get out of this GT3 series and the GT3 cars. The engine notes, the prestige of the manufacturers, they've all got something special that makes these manufacturers and cars exactly what they are. Well, except for maybe the Audi and the Lamborghini.
Yeah, they just sound like screaming banshees, as Dale Breed is currently up into 18th position. He's running the XCM team liveried number 313 again this season, coming back after finishing in second place in the first season or I should say season 3, but in the first season of 2021. So he's back for another stint in this, currently running second in our amateur class. So doing a solid job there in the Lamborghini.
Tell you what a race from Jeff Connell. He's currently running up all the way in 16th place. That's a phenomenal job by Jeff Connell.
Does still need to make his pit stop though.
that's what I'm wondering. We've only got 5 minutes left in this race. Where's they going to pop him out? What's the track looking like in terms of congestion, Stuart? 30 seconds or so through the pit stop?
Yeah, currently sitting on this his pit stop, looking at like it's going to be around about 22 seconds transit time.
So basically, take Jeff Connell from where he is, pop him 22 seconds back in the train. That'll pop him out about 44 seconds. Where's that going to put him? That's going to pop him out approximately between Brady Buchanan, Daniel Cheney, and Jordan Peter. Somewhere right around there. There's Phil Audie, Andrew Hayes, and Brady Buchanan all fighting for position right around that spot. So that could be a difficult piece of the track for him to pop out into.
So just saying there, Christopher Henn trying to get the move done underneath Jeff Connell. Sorry, my apologies, underneath Dale Breed. This is an inter-class battle as well, with Henn running in the pro category as well. So Dale Breed here not fighting necessarily for class position, but certainly fighting for position on track.
He's not going to be one to let that one go. Dale Breed came so close to championship domination last season. He lost out in the very final round. Points switched a long way all night long, and unfortunately a late accident took him just about out of the equation for Dale Breed. He's back. He's fighting once again for that AM split honours. Doing a phenomenal job to keep Christopher Henn behind him as well. Remember, there was 70 cars as a part of this. The cars are so close together in terms of qualifying and to get into this one that even though they might be in different classes, there would be next to nothing. And that margin as it stands on the track right now may not exist when we show up next time. It might be, you know, Christopher Henn's 10 seconds up the road.
Graham Smythe is currently the leader. He's on screen now of the AM Series, so currently running in 11th position overall. A really good job from him. And he is a few positions up on Dale Breed, currently down 18th, so doing a good job to lead the amateur class here in race 1.
It's a phenomenal drive to get himself just outside the top 10, and I mean he's right there, and he's hunting Paul Mansell, Lee Harrison right on track just in front of him. So if he can hunt those guys down, that'll be a phenomenal finish for Graham Smythe, first time out in the GT3 class. Shane Wallace coming up on the rear bumper of some lap traffic as well. Dale Carpenter, Jack Boyd's 3.5 seconds clear. Ross Rizzo has managed to go the entire race right underneath Jack Boyd's rear bumper, so it's still on for young and old right the way through. There's battles. Look, nearly 60 cars on the server. How could there not be battles up and down the track? They are just about crawling all over each other in every corner of the track as it is.
So just having a little bit of a look back, sorry about the very quiet mode there for me. So I think Connell actually came in on the end of just as they were starting, so on just basically at race start. He took the pace lap and came in directly on race start.
So what does that mean for him then? But isn't there a compulsory stop, isn't there?
Well, I don't know. That's what I'm asking now. So I'm not sure exactly, because yeah, he came in when the green flag had dropped. So the green flag had technically dropped. So he came in on technically lap 0, but lap 1 of the race. So he did the formation lap and came in directly then. So yeah, not 100% sure on that one, but he has stopped. That's why he's out there at the moment.
Did we see him take fuel?
Yes.
Wow, interesting. Has Connell found a loophole in the rulebook?
Well, I mean, he wasn't champion last season for no reason. Very intelligent driver, Jeff Connell. Could be what he was directly chasing. A loophole that allowed him to jump a mile up ahead after a poor qualifying attempt. Didn't get a lap in. 48 litres the maximum tank size. 20 litres was the starting fuel limit, and they come in just before 10 minutes on the dot. I think you know what? I think he might have found something, because if he's rolled across the line with, let's say 18 litres in it, and he's been in and gone straight up to 48 litres, that's enough to get him home, boys.
And I'm not seeing anywhere, I'm just having a look through the rulebook where it's compulsory.
Yeah, so an interesting strategy there. I don't think anyone else pipped onto that at all. So he has really taken a bit of a gamble with that one, but it seems to be paying off at the moment for sure.
Is Jeff Connell going to get himself 2 separate rules written into the rulebook after the conclusion of this race? Look, I think Shane Wallace crosses the line, gets the checkered flag. So race number 1 to Shane Wallace. Jack Boyd will follow him across the line. Actually, Wallace was running extremely slow back to the line. I wonder if another lap would have killed him in terms of the ability to get home. It's Jack Boyd home in P2. Ross Rizzo takes out 3. Danny Davison, Andrew Dyson, Luke Turner, Matty Cardleone away from P7. Paul Mansell 8th. Lee Harrison 9th. Dennis Katarik. P10, and finally, the leader of the AM class in P11 is Graham Smythe. What a drive from Graham Smythe. That's a phenomenal outing in race number 1.
So, guys, what I'd like to do here, if we can, is to potentially try and grab Sam Lehman into the booth. I want a clarification on this. I can't find anywhere in the rulebook that says that there's a compulsory pit stop on lap 1. I don't want to spoil Jeff's race whatsoever, because that is a brilliant trick. Because do you know where he's finished? He's finished in 15th, which means for the next race, he is on pole position. So if he's pulled this off, this is the greatest trick play in the rulebook. This is, I don't know who, this is Red Bull versus Mercedes-Benz style interpretation of the rules. If he's pulled this off, this is a mastery.
Can I get a technical directive, please? Yeah, Sam Lehman said he'd come down and join us. I'm not sure. He actually said to grab him, but I don't know the powers on Discord. What about you guys? There we go.
So we've got joined by Sam Lehman, series administrator here. Sam, we think there may have been the greatest heist here in potentially iRacing history. Race 1, compulsory pit stop, yes or no?
No, we don't run compulsory pit stops at all. So there's no compulsory pit stop rules. It's only based on fuel.
So Jeff Connell is about to write himself into the rulebook for a second time here, we feel. He's pitted at the end of the warm-up lap, fueled the car up and ran the race, ended up finishing 15th from dead last.
Oh, no, we will be looking at that on the rules if that's the case, because you must take the start. You must take the start. You can pit on lap 1, but you cannot pit before. So, no, must take the start.
Okay, there. Well, you've heard it here first. That's the official word on the rulebook. They'll look into it, but an interesting strategy play there from Jeff. He's going to start in pole position on race 2, so we'll see how that one plays out.
Yeah,
we'll review that in the steward's booth this week. So.
Damn it, we were hoping it was the biggest play of the century. It sounded fantastic. He's managed to interpret the rules in a way that no one else has and potentially get away with it, so we'll see how that one plays out. Sam, how was it on race 1 out there? It looked hectic.
It was busy. It was very busy, but, I was racing, I was buried in the field as I generally tend to be down in the mid-30s, and the racing, it was great. Everyone... we gave each other space, and it was hard and fair racing. So really, really good fun. Great fun.
Question, Sam. Sorry. So when you say got to take the start, does that mean take the green or cross the start-finish line?
Yeah, cross the start-finish line. So you can't take your pit stop until you've started the race. So if you don't actually cross the start-finish line to start the race, then you've entered the pits before the start of the race. So
okay. So just going back to an old Formula One moment, but some of you may remember from Silverstone with the Michael Schumacher, of course. If your pit position is past the start-finish line, does that technically mean you've crossed the start-finish line if you're in pit lane?
Well, with a rolling start, it doesn't matter. We need to go through down the main straight once before you can then come around and go into the pits.
Okay,
so you can only pit after lap 1, effectively.
That's right. Yeah, at the completion of lap 1, the pit opens effectively. But that's the way any racing series in the world works, and we're no different.
I was about to say, from your perspective, I must admit, just trying to reflect back, because once again, there's plenty that's happened in that first 20 minutes. It was really clean racing. I think we only saw 2 or 3 cars rotate around, no huge incidents, so a really good run from all the drivers.
I avoided a couple of relatively large incidents. I wouldn't call them huge, but there was a couple of hairy moments.
I mean, to be perfectly honest, though, when you've got 59 entrants for your first race of this, or your first non-wildcard race of the season, you've got to be happy with that. And then to turn around and have racing that clear, there is going to be, when you have 59 cars on a track, there's going to be contact. And to see that little of it and that few people, potentially upset at the end of it, there's not much you can really take away from that. That is just about bang on perfect.
I don't know. It's we just try and impress on the drivers to, be clean, be fair, and it's working so far. So we had to hand out a few penalties after last week's race, but then again, not as many as you might think with 62 cars on the grid, and to have such a massive return in week 2, we certainly didn't have that high percentage return last season. So yeah, it's super encouraging.
No, we're loving it here, Sam. Another good field tonight, and obviously we've got a couple of minutes to go before the warm-up finishes. We'll let you go. Thanks for joining us, clarifying on the rules. Sam Lehman there in the 93 PC entry, of course, series sponsor as well, one of the administrators. Thanks for your time.
No worries, thank you.
So I think Jeff Connell there trying to get away with a bit of a technicality rule. As I said, it took me back to Silverstone with one Michael Schumacher taking the penalty on the last lap to take the stop-go penalty, but his pit lane was past the finish line, so technically... sorry, just before the finish line, so technically he took it, could roll out the pit stop and still take the victory with that one. So I think Jeff Connell was planning on something like that, but I think he may get in trouble for that one.
Carl, second week in a row where I was about to say you took the words right out of my mouth when we were talking to Sam there, because I was about to say exactly the same thing. If it's based on crossing the start-finish line, 60 cars, you only need to qualify in the top 30 to have your pit generally, and I do say generally, on the right side of the start-finish line, assuming that the pit lane is split 50-50, which most tracks are. Yeah, well, actually, no, they're not. I shouldn't say that. Phillip Island's not. So there are tracks that aren't, but at this particular track, that would get you covered. So, yeah, interesting question there, but very clear on the rules. Basically, you've got to pit from lap 1 onwards. So it looks like there'll be, unfortunately, a penalty coming that way. I would have loved if there wasn't, because for me, working the rulebook that hard is one of the things that you've got to do in motorsport to get a win. So I would have loved the play.
Yeah, well,
I'm gonna say I like both routes. I like the penalty, and I also like there being no penalty there. And there's a couple of different reasons for it. Number one, if they don't do anything about it, well, next week nobody's going to qualify, and everyone's going to start from the back, and they're going to do it. So you've definitely got to close off the loophole. I think they should award the points to Jeff for what he did for ingenuity though this week. They say, hey, look, yep, you've caught us. Thank you for helping us close that gap.
We need to rewrite the rule book a little bit because it's the way the rules are worded. That's the issue, and I feel like that's going to be Connell's defence in this matter. Is strictly he followed the way it's written, so they're going to have to rewrite it slightly and actually make sure everything's very clear and clarified. Fortunately in motorsport, it's all about the best way to put motorsport is you're trying your best to cheat within the rules, and that's a huge thing of motorsport, is you are cheating within the rules. You are trying to find loopholes where you can to make things work for yourself where you can, and that's a huge thing in motorsport. It's all about finding any little thing you can find in a rule book that you can go, look, you said it this way, that means I can do this, and you'll see in every series.
Let's use the word, particularly in terms of talking about existing drivers, certainly not cheating, but it is down to interpretation. How do you interpret the rule book, and whose interpretation of the words are correct? So Jeff Connell there potentially playing out an interpretation of the rule book here. We might be playing something of it completely. He might come in at the end of this race if he manages to win it and say, guys, I don't know what you're talking about. I'd pit on lap 1 to get out of the traffic, and we've just blown it up into this huge thing. But that's our job to do that, and that's our privilege as commentators. But, let's see it for what it's worth and see what happens here. He will be starting off the front row. Got to quickly cover off the grid as well before we get into this one. I'll bring it up on screen now. So we've got Jeff Connell and Maverick Benson off row 1 with Bolton and Leach off 2. We've got Smything and Tarek off 3 with Harrison and Mansell off row 4. Then it's Matty Cardaleone followed by Luke Turner. We've got Andrew Dyson and Danny Davison to round out the first 6 rows of this grid. As we get into Ross Rizzo and Jack Boyd off 7 with Wallace and Funslow off 8. We've got Scotty Gray and Dale Breed off row 9 with Christopher Henn and Jack Widdus rounding out the top 10 rows as Kingsley and Levin onto row 11 with Webster and Rosenblatt off row 12. Then we head back with John Merritt and Tim Harris off row 13. A quick shout out to the Locked On Lads Racing blokes as well. Jump into their podcast if you want to have a listen to all things iRacing. Then it is Rydell with Brookfield behind him. We've got Andre Heimgartner, Liam Caplice off row 15 with Sturdy and Audi off 16. It's Caplice Fabian off 17 with Hayes and Buchanan off 18. And as we roll over through this huge grid quickly, Lee Mancini, Peter Pettigrew, Baldwin, Fletcher. We've got Fit, Andrews, Audi, Jackson, Luke Fitt, Glenn Boyd, Daniel Bruce D. Carvalho. We've got Phil Audie, Aaron Lawler, Grant Park, Timothy Hancock. We've got Isaac Edwards, Mike Casey, Dale Carpenter, Matthew Dench, Oscar Glycert, and then Edward Foster off the back row of the grid.
Funny is that?
Foster might not be
How
taking
funny is that,
start.
Carl? Did you hear him just say Peter Pettigrew? I heard him say the name of a Harry Potter character.
I did indeed.
yeah.
I did
Yeah,
indeed.
Jordan Peter alongside Pettigrew. That's fantastic.
It's James Pettigrew, to correct myself, and I've been thinking about it the whole time. I'm like, better not say Peter Pettigrew. Don't say Peter Pettigrew. And there it is. I've done it, so I'm out.
No, you didn't say Peter Pettigrew. You said Jordan Peter followed by James Pettigrew. That's what it is. It's Peter Pettigrew alongside on the same row.
Oh, good.
So you actually said it right. You 100% said it right. It's just the luck of the draw has landed those two guys next to each other. Race control. Sam Lehman just clarified. So what Jeff Connell said in race chat was that he saw there's an iRacing box that says on the screen says pit lane is closed. The instant the lights went out, that disappears, which means the pit lane is air quotes open. So they're going to be looking right. And Sam did say he's going to be investigating it, like he said to us. And Jeff also submitted his defense, and he submitted it very publicly. So that's an interesting way to resolve all of that. Now, keep your eyes on Shane Wallace off of 15th. He will want to get to the front of this thing very, very quickly. But have a look who he's alongside. Adam Funzlo.
Just very quickly as well, sorry to cut in. If he said that over the radio, watch out for the drivers who are going to try and do the same thing behind him.
Well, Lehman clarified that it's a no-go. You cannot do that. Cannot do that whatsoever. Start is ready to roll. It's green and away we go. Jeff Connell, last season's winner, off of the front row. He's going to defend it. He is going to cover extremely hard. Look at the GT3. He's running down from the second backwards. There are so many cars trying to find their way through, and yet again it's clean. What a start. Jeff Connell will lead us. Maverick Benson and Mitchell Bolton go wheel to wheel. Look at the Porsche and Lamborghini action. Guy Leach, Jack Boyd trying to get involved right behind them. Jack Boyd has jumped a hole. He's just spots 3 wide down at the ball stop for the first time. Are they going to get through there? Yes, they will. Nice and safely, and Jack Boyd is up to 4th. What a start for Jack Boyd.
There are still cars going 3 wide as we got a spin in the background at the bus stop. A big incident down towards the back. Lots of cars involved. Richard Brookfield involved in that. He's gone into that. We can see the car, the carnage right there. Trying to figure out who was the first car to spin in that one. I'll try and figure that out as I go. It was Kingsley there. It was Matt Kingsley getting caught out with that one, and that caused a huge knock-on effect there. He got caught down the inside by somebody and spun around, and then a big incident there towards the bus stop.
Yeah, that's going to impact a number of drivers' races there. There's a few that got caught out trying to avoid it, and a few that just got caught out getting stuck in it. But up the front here, Jeff Connell is trying to run away with it. We've got Mitchell Bolton, Jack Boyd, as Scotty called there. He's up a whopping 11 places already. Not even just over half a lap round. He managed to achieve that, of course, nearly towards the end of the first lap here. Maverick Benson, Guy Leach, got Lee Harrison, Andrew Dyson with a good start as well. He's up 4 spots. Graham Smythe, and then we've got Shane Wallace and Matty Carleone rounding out our top 10.
How did we go 3 to 4 cars wide through the S's without having a huge accident? I do not understand how that is even possible. What a great start there. What's great skill by all those drivers.
We also had drivers who were 6 wide across the start-finish line, and we had drivers off in the grass, just trying to make sure they made some track position down into turn 1. 6 wide, the track literally just jammed. Fantastic racing.
The track was jammed. Everyone was stopped at the bus stop. The guys that were filing in there, pretty much everyone saw the smoke, rolled out of the gas. How many series can you say that everyone is aware?
We've got a big incident. Jack Wiedes is caught up in that one, down up the end of the S's. A huge accident at the end of the S's as Wiedes has got caught up there. I think
Tarek's caught in it as well. Tarek's going backwards at a rate of knots.
Yeah, Tarek actually got caught with Wiedes. Wiedes just got caught with him, spun him around, and that's where the accident happened. Very tight part of the circuit, and a lot of cars going to get caught up in that, unfortunately. A few people getting caught in that, a very tricky part of the circuit as well, because it is so tight there.
Trying to jump back there, guys, and have a look at it, but there's just too many cars going through here for the strength to try and keep up with it as we cycle back through. So I did see there a couple of cars flying in the air, but unable to bring it up at the moment.
I can tell you exactly who it was. It was Mike Casey got together with Dale Carpenter. Unfortunately, that's what happens. The Lamborghini, she comes over some rises. She gets a little bit unstable. Unfortunately, Dale Carpenter's got involved. That's a separate incident to Wittes and Gatarik as well. That's completely and utterly separate. But, Jack Wittes, what a phenomenal run through there on race number 1, and unfortunately race number 2 just doesn't go his way. You can see the cars backed up into the fence on the left-hand side of the run. The car on the right, that's Dennis Gatarik, that is trying to pick up speed, missing his hood. That thing is probably a lot cooler than it was before, though.
At the front, we got a battle between Benson and Bolton. At the moment, Benson managing to get the position up into P3 in this race. Yes, P3. He just got through in the first corner. These two are neck and neck now coming towards the bus stop. You can see Bolton is right on the back at the moment. He's going to be looking to try and make a move on the inside. Will he get the drop? Will he get it done on the Lamborghini? Can't quite make it work in the Porsche this time round. As Gruff Park has been caught out. As all Park gets caught going into the S's. He was trying to go free wide in there with 2 other cars.
Oh, wow. He's trying to get out. No. What is he doing? He's trying to get out of the way. He just needs to stay still there and let the field go through. Fortunately, he's just trying to do too many things at once. That Lamborghini, that thing's all over, but he's caught 2 other drivers out there just moving. That car is absolutely sandwiched. He needs to jump out of it, jump back to pit lane and use that where he can, because that thing is absolutely stuffed.
Yeah, big accident there, unfortunately, as Bolton has just got passed by trying to see who that was just then.
Shane Wallace, I think it was. It's just got past Bolton there. Yep, he's got Andrew Dyson right behind him as well, so he's under pressure here.
Really under the pump, and keep your eyes on Shane Wallace. He'll be eyeing off the guys ahead as well. Glenn Cito Riddell's in the pit lane. I have a feeling that's for damage, given that he's probably tired. There's multiple cars rejoining the track. Hayden Jackson is one of them. He was caught up in that lap number 2 carnage at the S's. As it stands, I tell you what, Dyson is all over the rear bumper of Mitchell Bolton. It would not surprise me to see that Ferrari climb all over this Porsche when they get to the bus stop. Looking for the run. Looking for the run. Here it comes. Dyson's got the nose there. Late braking. And it's going to be Mitchell Bolton that takes the better part of valor. He sees the position, allows him on through. Both of them get through that. That's really good heads-up racing from both of them. They both let that move happen.
Harrison, meanwhile, also all over the back of Leach behind him. Leach caught right up to the back of Bolton with that move as well. Bolton just dropping back a little bit. That gave Harrison the opportunity on Leach. Couldn't quite make it work, but there is a lot of battles going on. These guys are not racing like it's a longer stint race. They're not racing like this is a 40-minute race. They are absolutely flying this first stint.
And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, just in the background of this, you can't see it off screen at the moment.
Whereas Wallace makes a move on Benson up the front, and Wallace starts to climb up. He's managed to get up into P3.
Yeah, what a move there, but that'll be the teammates working together. Benson would have said, look, you get to the inside, I'm not going to fight that. We need to make sure that we can both get through there, and teammates working together. Jack Boyd absolutely gone in pursuit of Jeff Connell. The gap between those two is about 1.5 seconds at this point in time. So Jeff Connell has gone. Let's see if Boyd can hunt him down. And now the gap back to Shane Wallace. Well, it's 2.5 seconds. That's a lot for Wallace to hunt down, but if he can make a 1.5 seconds up in that pit stop once again, that's enough to get in that draft range.
Yeah, currently last lap around, Wallace fastest man on track at 1:46.26. He was 0.2 faster than Boyd and Connell in front of him. Of course, both drivers there enjoying the risk-free air of the evening here at Watkins Glen. So Wallace will be on his way. He was quick in the pit stops as well. So let's see how this one plays out. Boyd will be wanting to get as much of a margin as he can, as will Jeff Connell. They'll both be fully aware of the strength of Wallace driving behind them. Andrew Dyson's another one to keep your eye on at the moment. He's putting pressure all over the back of Maverick Benson in the Simrigs.com DPR entry. We know how strong he is in a V8 supercar as well. So keep an eye on him. He's used to battling this close, nose to tail with other cars. So watch out for Dyson and probably make a move, make his way up into 4th position here, I think.
starting to have a look back through the... Has Lee Harrison come unstuck? I think Lee Harrison's come unstuck. Something's happened to him. He's dropped a few spots.
Glenn Boyd as well, he's had a big incident as well. He's currently just trying to get that car turned in the right direction and struggling a little bit, unfortunately. He'll hopefully get that car pointing in the right direction before anybody comes around the corner, but the two drivers just making a few little mistakes here and there, unfortunately. It's very easy to do here at the Glen. It is a tricky track to run on. It's, as I say, a very fun track, but it is not easy by any means.
Glenn Boyd will actually cycle through pit lane this time by. Keep your eyes on...
Connell coming in. Connell and Boyd coming in.
Oh, well Dyson there. Wow, what a run. Sorry to cut you off there down into turn one. He saw that Benson, I think, was going to pull off into pit lane. And Dyso there just makes his way through into the lead of this race. But, my God, he had a lot of pace on him going down into the final corner there.
Yeah, he really made that move at the last moment there, Dyson. He very much had a little bit of a, oh, this is going to need a little bit more braking than I expected moment, I think.
So he's running a little bit longer here, Dyson. He's going to get some fresh air. He's stuck in the pack. His last lap around was a 47.05. He's fuel saving a lot too as well, just trying to make the stop that he's got to make as shallow as possible in the Ferrari.
Jeff Connell re-emerges back from pit lane, just barely in front of Jack Boyd. He literally pulls out, and Jack Boyd is just about beside him as he pulls out. Jack Boyd had to give way there to let Connell back in, but that has closed that margin considerably. Now look who is right there with them. It's Ross Rizzo once again. Where's he come from?
He hasn't done his pit stop yet, Ross Rizzo.
Boyd is going to send it on the inside. Jeff Connell sees it, so that's Jack Boyd for effective race lead. He's there. He's got the move done, and that one is all she wrote, boys.
Ross Rizzo was stationary for 13.5 seconds, while the rest of them were stationary for about 18 seconds. So Rizzo is going for a much shorter second stint here, or he's going to be fuel saving like a boss. I don't think he's going to make it without another stop, in all honesty. So he's going to go for a slightly shorter middle stint. We saw Luke Turner as well go for a slightly shorter stint, as well as Scott Gray.
So on board now with Ross Rizzo. He's trailing Jeff Connell. He's having a listen here to see if Carl's right. I think he is going to be spot on. He's going to have to save a lot of fuel from here. But if there's anyone on track, you put your money on it, either be him or Matty Carleone in terms of fuel saving strategy.
Dyson is out of fuel, I think. Dyson is clutching it, or he's out of fuel. He ran out of fuel with a couple of corners to go to the pit lane. He's actually just managed to clutch it to pit lane, and luckily it's a little bit downhill here, so that's going to help him out, but that's going to lose him a lot of time.
Yeah, we're on board here with him now. You can hear that car is off, so he is completely out of gas there. He was fuel saving a lot. I wonder if he actually missed pit entry there because he was heavily fuel saving on that last lap around. That will have cost him time, and of course that's going to allow Jack Boyd to take back over the lead of this race. So take the lead of this race. Jeff Connell had been there before him, but Boyd now, Jack Boyd of Boyd Racing, out in the lead. He's got Jeff Connell behind him, Ross Rizzo with that short stop behind him, Luke Turner currently running in fourth with Shane Wallace in fifth.
Well, let's see if Wallace can continue to climb his way back from 15th in the last race. Whether or not there's one pit stop left to go, yet to be decided. I think we might be A-okay, but it's going to be tight for these guys to get the cars home in terms of fuel. Then again, has somebody underfueled the car and gotten there? Will Ross Rizzo's fuel strategy play out the way that he wants to? Let's talk about Andrew Dyson. From a risky move, he's popped back out in P11, so he has lost positions. Now he'll have his headlights focused on Mitchell Bolton ahead of him, but 1 lap less worth of fuel that he had to have cycled through that tank. That's 3 seconds less he had to spend in pit lane. Whether or not it's a big risk for him, but he's tried something, hasn't quite gone the way that he wanted it to, I don't think.
Looking at some of the information we were given before the race, apparently a two-stopper was going to be slightly quicker in the terms of you could run a bit faster. So two-stopper might have been about up to 20 seconds faster around here at the Glen. So we might see a few drivers trying that two-stop strategy and trying to work their way through the traffic. We've seen overtaking can be done tonight. Will anybody be brave and try for a two-stopper going flat out and see what they can do tonight?
Actually, do all my eyes deceive me? Andre Heimgarn up 14 positions into P15. What a drive from him. He's absolutely... Look, to be perfectly honest, you know what? I think he stopped listening to Matty Carleone's fuel numbers. I think that the instant he stopped doing that, he's started to get enough fuel that he can push that foot to the floor and not have to save, and I think that works in Andre Heimgartner's favour.
Kind of got to mention it here tonight as well. The headlights are on. Thankfully, headlights on these cars, and this race will finish in the daylight.
Sam is going to murder you.
He's not going to be happy. But we're going to get it in there. We mentioned it last week. Got to mention it again this week. Look at the headlights ablaze. It looks fantastic in the sunset. No lights here, of course, on the track. So just happy to see this. We're just happy to see this, basically.
Especially now that the pace car's headlights don't sit on there in the pit lane, and we would have been in real trouble if that was the case tonight.
Oh, absolutely. As we jump up to Maverick Benson, he's currently just trying to chase down Adam Afonso. This is a battle between Porsche, Lambo and Porsche, with Mitchell Bolton behind him trying to close that gap, as well as a little bit of damage to the right-hand front side of that Lamborghini too. That won't be helping him a little bit unless the livery deceives me, which it might be actually. Yes, most certainly. I take everything I just said back, but he's closing down on the back of Adam Funzlo. This is a challenge for position 8 and 9.
Don't forget, Adam Funslow and Shane Wallace left last week's round at Daytona on equal points. They both won their both respective races in their classes between the Cadillac CDSV and the Daytona Chevrolet prototype. Given, it's a C8.7, the Daytona DPI, one of those things. Look, they're American cars. I don't know them too well. But Adam Funslow, Shane Wallace won race number 1. Funslow's actually not that far back.
Sorry, McConnell just made a mistake on the exit of the final corner on turn 11. That has cost him a little bit of time, and that has allowed Rizzo to get away a little bit there, and it almost cost him a lot more as he had to save that car.
Matty Carleone's just cycled back through pit lane. No, he's multiple
way
laps down.
Yeah, out of position, unfortunately. I think he might have got caught up in that earlier incident at the start of the race. Jeff Connell here tries to get a move done on Ross Rizzo into the flip-flop, gets it done, and moves up into second place now. Dare say Rizzo is potentially on a fuel-saving mission here. We'll jump on board with him and have a listen, but he's going to have to do something because he certainly stopped a lot less than everyone else.
Rizzo was stationary for about 5 seconds less than everybody else, so there's a lot of fuel gaining to make up there if that's the case. I honestly think we're going to see Rizzo come in pit lane one more time, though.
Well, keep your eyes peeled here because you do not want to be trying to save fuel and keep Shane Wallace in your rearview mirror. That is a recipe for disaster, and Rizzo is hunting, absolutely hunting. As you see, Timothy Hancock was off the road down at the front of your picture heading into the kink right there. He's opted to take an escape, get out of these guys' way, which is, look, I mean, if he's not having the best of nights, if things aren't going his way and he's going to damage car, that is actually really smart driving.
Also got to say here, Jack Boyd coming up on the back of Andrew Hayes, so he's starting to get into some lap traffic. That's going to help the group behind him if he can't get the job done in the right way.
Rizzo's dived back on a pit lane, so Ross Rizzo has gone, you know what, it's not quite there. Now, there's an interesting thing about taking that second stop. If everyone in the field has to take it, and you're the first one that takes it, that's going to leave you mired in traffic, Carl.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting little way here. As I said, theoretically, it's the faster option, the 2 stops. But, as there's contact between Graham Smith. Big accident in turn number 1. Huge accident down towards turn 1. Car on its roof as well. That would be... one of the BMWs,
Christopher
I think.
Henn. Yeah, it's Christopher Henn there on his lid. I think Guy Leach might have been involved in that one as well. Just trying to keep up with it here because things go far too fast in this. It was Christopher Henn, John Merritt, in fact, and Guy Leach who got involved in that one. We'll go back and have a quick look at it.
It was Guy Leach got up on the curbing, lost the rear end of the car, and now I've lost it. Guy Leach lost the tail end of the car, and Graham Smythe was trying to avoid it. That meant he had to go to the left-hand side of the track. You'll see it here in a moment. So there's Guy Leach losing the rear end. Next 2 cars coming through are Smythe and Dennis Gatarik, I believe it was.
You'll see Heimgartner as well, the final car, the white car there. He's going to get caught. The front end is going to get caught up with one of those cars just spearing off onto the track and just bounces into the front end of his car. So that's damaged Heimgartner as well.
I just jumped on board with Dennis Gatarik there, sorry, at the end to try and catch up with him, and it's just dropped out. He must have already jumped out of that one. So big accident there, costing a number of guys their race.
That's unfortunate. That's just cars unsettled, unloaded. So it's Christopher Henn that had contact with Graham Smythe, trying to rejoin the track, and Smythe was kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. Needed to get back towards the left-hand side of the track. Nothing he could do about it. That's had to create space at the same time for Christopher Henn. Nothing he could do. Such is life, unfortunately. Such is life.
A bit of a shout out to Cavallio down in 17th position now. Make that 16th position as somebody's coming to pit lane. 33 positions gained in the race so far for the 555 of Cavallio. Nice run there so far from himself, so hopefully he can keep that up tonight.
Shane Wallace just makes the move up into second place through the flip-flop on Jeff Connell. He gets it done nice and easily into the braking zone there, so Wallace now up into second position. Got 1.5 second gap here to make up on Jack Boyd, who's currently sitting in first.
And Boyd still attempting to punch his way through left traffic. The next car on the road is Glenn Riddell. Mike Casey will be just up the road of him. So Riddell in 44th position, Mike Casey in 43rd. Both just running at the back end of the lead lap. Fortunately, gonna have to give way in the very near future. Actually, Mike Casey's 16 seconds ahead of the leader, so below that, he's got a fair way to go. But Glenn Riddell has got this whole host of cars coming his way. Matty Carleone's just in behind him. Andrew Hayes is actually just behind these lead packs. So, look, battles still happening right up and down the field, just not in the format that a lot of these guys would be wanting.
Just keeping a bit of an eye on Ross Rizzo. He's down in 22nd place at the moment, and he's got quite a few cars to battle through, but he is working his way up there and setting a fairly okay pace. He's managed to pass quite a few cars out on track, so he's going to want to try and keep this going. As Andrew Dyson is out. Andrew Dyson is in a big accident in the wall. He's rolled in a few times. Huge accident for Dyson. He's gone into somebody who's actually had an accident in just after turn 10, and he's had nowhere to go. So he's had an accident. Dale Breed has gone into the wall. So Dale Breed's just had a spin, and then Andrew Dyson has caught him. So we'll see it here on the replay. And Andrew Dyson goes for a big ride from this one. You can see Dale Breed just spinning around. He locks on the top of wheels, puts on the brakes, and unfortunately, I think we see Dyson just get caught up with that one. Big impact, and then rolls it over.
See that right there? That's Mitchell Bolton.
By Mitchell Bolton, yeah. I was going to say, just gets picked up there. You see Dyson had the anchors on. He was trying to get the Ferrari pulled up, just couldn't do it in time. And unfortunately, the innocent victim there is that Ferrari becomes a can opener and a couple of cans of baked beans as a result of that one.
Yeah, I heard Mitchell Bolton was a little bit upset about that one, but you gotta look from Mitchell Bolton's perspective. He's just an innocent bystander. There's nothing he can do there. There's cars bouncing all over the road. Look, sometimes an accident just has your number on it. You know whose car doesn't have an accident written all over it at the moment? Jack Boyd and Shane Wallace and Jeff Connell all the way up here at the front of the field. Jeff Connell still just about holding on to Shane Wallace. It's within a second, so he's still benefiting from the draft, but Jack Boyd now starts to come under fire. We're just past the halfway mark within our feature race tonight. And all of a sudden, Jack Boyd, if he wasn't trying to run away before, he certainly is now, because Shane Wallace is hunting him down.
So, from my rough numbers that I was working out a little bit earlier, they're going to be close on fuel. So I've got a feeling we might see a few cars needing to come in for another stop. So I think we're going to see another quite a few cars needing to come in for at least a splash and dash towards the end of this race. So it's not over by a long shot. I think most of these cars are still going to need to come in for at least one more stop, unless they can do some epic fuel saving.
there's one man on the grid that can save enough fuel, it would have been Ross Rizzo. But Ross Rizzo's already committed to the two-stop strategy. Needed clean track to be able to get through as quickly as possible. Didn't quite get it, but he's gained a couple spots so far. He's passed Matt Andrews, he's passed Sam Lehman. Those guys now in the rear view mirror. Can he keep punching out the laps that he needs to get himself back to the lead of the race? 147.0 the last time by. Leaders of the race running in the 146s, so that's not playing out to plan, Carl.
Not yet, though. That's what you got to say is if these guys need to come in for a bit of a stop, then this could work out a little bit, depending on how long they stay in pit lane. He's got to just make those positions and make his way through the traffic, and that's going to be the hard thing for Ross Rizzo now. He's got a lot of time to make up, and of course those guys, if they need to make one more stop, it will be a much shorter stop as well, so it's going to become a very tricky little thing indeed as Scott Gray comes in.
Somebody else has now pressed the I've got to commit to this two-stop. I cannot save enough fuel margin. Now 48 litres in the tank. I think he'll have enough to get home from here. I don't actually, you know what? It's not even a question. He will have enough to get home from here. Jordan Peter is in the background. Dennis Katarik is in the pit lane as well. So there's a whole host of cars starting to come in. They've recognised they've got enough fuel to get home, and they're going to get their final stops done and dusted.
So Luke Turner, Adam Funslow, Brendan Levine and Richard Brookfield are all going to have to come in again, same as Timothy Harris up in 13th position. So those guys up in the sort of top 10 regions are definitely going to have to come in for another stop, I would say. It's touch and go if some of the other drivers, so Jack Boyd, Wallace, Connell, Benson, Michael Rosenblatt might be in for a chance here. He's actually got he went a lap longer than the rest, same as Daniel Webster. So they could be looking interesting for the rest of the race. They may be trying that single stopper.
Was that car that did manage to make it was Dyson, wasn't it? Dyson's unfortunately had that major accident, so he would have been one of the ones. He would have been the lead car to actually keep your eyes on in terms of fuel numbers, because he would have been the first car that might have been able to make it in terms of fuel strategy. Unfortunately, not played the way that he wanted. That's fine. He's back through pit lane. He's back out there on track. At least he's attempting to keep his race alive. Is Dyson. So, boys, as this one starts to push into the final phase of the race, who do you have your money on? Do you think it's Wallace that jumps Boyd in the pit stop? Actually, Wallace might jump Boyd out on track, because that's the battle you can see. Look how close that one is. I think Boyd might be under assault here into the bus stop this time by.
I was about to say, Wallace is absolutely flying at the moment. He was about 3/10 quicker than Boyd last time round, and look at how much more speed he's got through the corners at the moment. He's going to get in the slipstream of that big juicy BMW, get a nice run down towards the bus stop here. Wallace is going to be on the outside here. He's going to take that late to break, gets the move done nice and easily there. Well, I say easily, that's a tricky move to make work, but he does it perfectly. Boyd knows he can't defend too much there. There's not much he can do in that position without causing a crash. Perfect little bit of driving.
Yeah, good. I was going to say, good run there from Shane Wallace. I expect to see that, of course, as he makes his way up into the front now. Remembering that he did start in position 15, and Boyd started in 14th in this reverse top 15. Second race that we have here, so good running from both those drivers back up into P1 and 2 as they finished race 1.
Things starting to go all the way of Shane Wallace. We saw it last week. Remember, he was one of the quickest through pit lane last week. Will he be one of the quickest through pit lane as well as quickest out on track again this week? Jack Boyd will keep his BMW as close as possible to the Shane Wallace Lamborghini, but whether or not Jack Boyd is able to hang on to him, we'll find out in a few moments. We might be nearing pit stop territory. Wallace is going to go another lap. Jack Boyd will follow him. So with 13 minutes, or 12 and a half minutes, sorry, left on the clock, I think we've still got another stop to serve, boys.
Luke Turner coming into pit lane. So one of those cars are predicted a little bit before he's the first of those cars to come in. I'd expect to see probably... where was I? Probably Timothy Harris coming in as well relatively soon as well. But Luke Turner is in pit lane right now, so he's the first, well, one of the top 5 that is making that stop. So see where he comes out compared to Ross Rizzo. That's the thing that we want to keep an eye on, is how does he come out compared to Rizzo.
Oh, battles to keep your eyes on out on track. There is a whole heap of them. Ross Rizzo is starting to shuffle all that way back up in P11. That's another good point to keep your eyes on. But just in behind them is that Sam Lehman that's actually starting to pull out a little bit of a result as well.
Yeah, it is indeed. The other one I was just having a quick look at as well. We've got to make mention of this man, Daniel Webster, current amateur series champion. And he's currently running in 6th position, doing a great job, Daniel. We did see this from him last season. Just nice and consistent, and it ended up winning him the championship in the last round. So, good drive from him. He switched to the Porsche this season, so we'll keep an eye on him, but currently running 6th. Great job for Daniel.
Yeah, he's got Cavallo right behind him. He's made 42 positions in this race. That is a fair amount of cars to pass.
Just one or two.
One or two times a lot. Actually, speaking of last season, was it Tim Audi that was taking that BMW on a massive sideways adventure around the grassy sections of the Green Hell?
Yeah, I believe it was.
Yeah, that was the moment. If you missed that one from last season, Tim Audi, or basically wheel on the lock stops in the opposite direction, turn right to go left, as they say from the movie Cars. Yeah, that was Tim Audi. BMW off the road, nearly saved it, nearly lived to tell the story. Unfortunately, just snapped back the opposite direction on the other side of the road. Well, no, actually, he did manage to save that one. It was the next car that tried to do it that didn't succeed in that maneuver. So speaking of Tim Audi, down pit lane is Tim Audi.
Yeah, interestingly, Rosenblatt and Webster as well coming in. They stopped a lap later than the leaders, so they had an extra lap on them, I think. So, no, sorry, they were a lap earlier. So they came in a lap earlier. So it's going to be interesting to see, because it looks like cars are only managing about 12 to 13 laps on a fuel tank. I had it written down around about 12 to 15 laps for my sort of working out that I did earlier on.
Board with Andre Heimgartner. He'll send it down the inside of John Baldwin into the bus stop. Andre Heimgartner's done his second stop, and that should get him home. So P16, that man is up to, with a whole host of cars ahead of him yet to pit. Adam Funslow, Mitchell Bolton, the next car's on the road. They're about 6 seconds up the road, and they have made their final stop. So I think Andre Heimgartner will be targeting Mitchell Bolton's rear bumper bar before the end of the race.
Interesting here, Jack Boyd's actually closed the gap on Shane Wallace, so he's now only half a second away from him. I do wonder, we'll jump on board with Wallace here, if he's just fuel saving a little bit to try and shorten his last stop. But I can tell you, Jack Boyd last time around 2/10 quicker than Wallace in front of him, so he's trying to close the gap up here, just out to half a second, and get a good draft here on the run up towards the flip-flop.
Looks it right across the breast of the hill is Mr. Wallace, attempting to make that fuel go every extra mile he possibly can. Not by the sounds of that engine. I don't know. Look, there's a statement that says he could be saving a few droplets of fuel, but I don't think there's much saving going on there at all.
Yeah, with those lap times, I don't think there's much saving going on. They're setting about a 1:46 each lap, which is not that far off the fastest lap time. You know, they're definitely pushing it. They're not really easing off. They're not lifting and coasting that much. They do not sound like drivers that are saving fuel at the moment.
Well, then all credit to Jack Boyd as he puts the pressure on the back of Wallace in the 97 Lamborghini. The injectorsonline.com entry. As we close right up on the back of him here, these guys are going to have to make another pit stop, we feel. They won't be able to save all the way to the end. So will it be this lap? They both dive into pit lane. You imagine that there's going to be a response from Boyd here. He'll get in at Wallace when they get into pit lane and see if he can close this gap even further. It's going to be under half a second, well and truly, when they do jump into pit lane. So let's see, is it this time around? It is for Boyd. It is for Boyd. Wallace keeps going.
So I wonder if this is an attempt from Jack Boyd to undercut and then lead him, and then keep the car ahead. Well, he's going to be vulnerable if that's the case when they go to the bus stop the first time by. Shane Wallace will be right there in his rearview mirror, and Shane Wallace will be coming. That much you can count on. Jeff Connell's in the lane. Maverick Benson. Then again, as Shane Wallace found those few extra milliliters of fuel, he needed to go one more lap.
It's going to be magic happens kind of stuff if he does.
We saw with Dyson earlier. He played that card, and it didn't work out too well for him. He ran out of fuel with a couple of corners to go. Wallace is definitely easing off now. He's not quite pushing it as much. He's just braving the throttle a little bit more than he was before. He's still putting a fair bit of a whack in the car. He's still giving it some beans, but he is definitely easing off a little bit through the corners, letting that car breathe a little bit more and have a little bit more fuel on board.
Isn't this an interesting scenario? Guess where Jack Boyd came out on track? Immediately behind Glenn Boyd. That's a really cool opportunity. We're going to see both father and son duo out there on track, hopefully. He's only 2.5 seconds up ahead of him, so that'll be a really cool moment for the father and son duo. We're out on track a few seasons ago. They absolutely made the most of it, didn't they, Stuart?
Yeah, absolutely. Glenn Boyd, one of the most improved drivers on the circuit in that season, and definitely making his way up. There's a couple of close finishes there for the two of them as well, so good to see the Boyd family back out in the Aus Pro-Am Sim Series.
Makes me want to go and buy my father a sim racing rig, I think.
Well, there's a thought, but of course you're busy on Tuesday nights, mate, so you know.
Maybe I get to come and take my dad. He'd get a kick out of that, I tell you what. Carl, would your dad enjoy some simulator racing?
My dad would be hopeless at it, but Shane Wallace coming into pit lane, not to put too much diss on my dad, but yeah, he can drive a road car, that's about it, really.
Well, that Boyd mobile on its way around now. Where is Shane Wallace in pit lane? He's on his way out. Jack Boyd down the main straight now. This is going to be a really, really closely contested thing as Boyd is on his way down into turn one. Wallace is out of pit lane. He's going to have a little bit of lap traffic to deal with here. There's Boyd in the background. He's opened the gap up there. 3 seconds indeed as he gets out to get that one up to pace. What is it in pit lane? He's just got some sort of magic that makes him just open that gap up ever so slightly. It's gone from half a second, I say ever so slightly, half a second to 2.5 seconds now between Wallace and Boyd.
There it is. Glenn Boyd cedes way to Jack Boyd and Jeff Connell at the same point. Well, Mercedes has brake magic. Does Shane Wallace have fuel magic in the Injectors Online Lamborghini? Because he has certainly run away. Although, to be fair to him, Jeff Connell actually pit for the exact same pit lane transition time as Shane Wallace. So I'm wondering whether the Lamborghinis...
Sorry, the difference was Jeff Connell was stationary for 7.2 seconds, Wallace was stationary for 6.2 seconds. So Wallace took a lot less fuel on board. Boyd was stationary for 9 seconds, so he lost about 3 seconds, in pit lane there for Boyd.
So just able to conserve a little more fuel there. Wallace doing a good job at it as well. So it's Wallace, Boyd and Connell through the pit stops. Luke Turner currently in 4th with Rizzo up into 5th. He's done his stop, so he's going to benefit here. He's probably going to finish up in 4th position, you'd think. So good run from them. In the AM class, it is Dustin Fletcher currently leading that class, as well as my timing screen there just goes absolutely berserk. So perhaps not if I get this wrong, but I believe it is Dustin Fletcher currently the leader of the amateur class.
Andre Heimgartner, though, he has made his way just outside the top 10. What was I saying? He'd be trying to hunt down the rear bumper of Adam Funslow and Mitchell Bolton. Guess who's just ahead of him on track? 4 seconds up the road. He's taken about 2 seconds out of Funslow and Bolton. So Funslow and Bolton have been going hard at it, and Bolton looks to have made the better of Adam Funslow.
Do let me correct myself there if I can, Scotty. It is Daniel Webster leading the amateur class there. The timing on it is just catching up. So Webster from Harris from Sam Lehman doing a good job there. So that's our lead 3 in the amateur class at this point in time.
I hope Sam's going to take the joke out of the next statement that I'm making, because he loves it. He loves a little bit of a banter back and forth. Loves to have a muck around. 3rd place in the amateur class. Amateur on the rules tonight, as Jeff Connell proved earlier this evening.
Oh, wow,
that's risky.
Oof.
It's risky, but I hope he takes the right. I mean that as a joke, and entirely as a joke. You know what? I shouldn't have said anything. I retract my statement. Sam Lehman does a phenomenal job in terms of rules. They had a lot to review last week out between the DPIs and the CTSVs. Multi-class racing didn't prove as clean as they were hoping, but they actually said not too bad, all things considered. And look at the proof in the pudding this week as well. A nearly perfect 2 sets of races this time out.
And just jumping to some racing, Luke Turner has got Rizzo all over the back of him at the moment. Ross Rizzo is right on the back of Luke Turner as they come through the final set of corners. But you can see Rizzo is working his way up the field, trying to get up into 4th position.
He's going to be working that Lamborghini all over the rear bumper of Luke Turner. We'll see if Turner can hold him off. There is probably... Look, they've got enough time. They've probably got enough time for another lap. So there's 1 to 2 laps remaining. There may be 2 laps. It's close. Very close. You know what? I think we've got white flag. So it is going to be tight to get that extra lap in. Ross Rizzo maybe only has a couple kilometres to go. 5.4 kilometres, the length of the Watkins Glen boot circuit. He's got less than that now to see if he can get the move done. Liam Caplice is the lap traffic that's there in the way. Does that help Luke Turner? Does that help Ross Rizzo? Rolls out. Towards the left-hand side is Caplice. Towards the left-hand side of the track, Ross Rizzo covers the line as Luke Turner. Turner's still ahead as they come through the bus stop. Now to the inner loop. He's right there, is Ross Rizzo. Getting closer and closer with every closing moment. Is he going to send it down the inside? That Lamborghini's turning very well. Turner then just jumps on the throttle, grabs a few meters away. It's about a car length in it, if that, boys.
Yeah, very close battle. Boyd is defending at the moment, Connell as well, so it's a relatively close battle for 2nd and 3rd as well, so it's just keeping an eye on these positions. Connell is trying his best to get up into P2 at the moment. He's desperate to try and get that position, but he is very much running out of track to make the move on this one, as Shane Wallace is going to be very shortly coming up to cross the finish line, but it's just keeping an eye on these battles now. But Shane Wallace, an absolute fantastic drive from 15th to 1st there. Brilliant drive once more, and just a time in pit lane has helped him so much there.
As it is Boyd from Connell to finish out that run there. A really good result from them. We could jump back a little bit further and have a look where we can at the amateur class, but it is Wallace, Boyd and Connell to take out the top 3 positions in the pro class here for round 2.
I tell you what, Ross Rizzo has jumped Luke Turner at the line. There is nothing in this, lads.
Luke Turner has run out of fuel, I think. That's the issue. Turner has spluttered across the line. He lost fuel just as it came to the line, and that gave Rizzo P4.
Well, I think the last time that those 2 guys were that close together on track, it was Rizzo that ran out of fuel, so Luke Turner's repaid the favour this time around. Phenomenal racing right the way through. Jeff Connells walked away with a P3 from race number 2, started it from pole in race number 2. It's been an awesome race right the way through, and I tell you what, Jeff Connell joins us in the commentary box. Jeff, interesting strategy from race number 1. There's a few comments that come out of Sam Lehman about that one, and a few comments that come out of a few other drivers as well. What's your take on it?
Yeah, so I pitted like lap 1. The lights got green, so there was nothing on the screen saying he couldn't pit. And I'm just looking in the rules now to see I might have missed it in there. But I did it last year and it was all good, or last season, I mean. And yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I couldn't see anywhere in the rules where it says you can't do that, but I could be wrong.
Well, race number 2, you had to fight with quite a number of guys. Andrew Dyson opted to go a lap longer at that first stop. What was the targets with race number 2? Was it to stay within the podium? Were you trying to fuel save? Were you trying to push as hard as you possibly could?
I was just trying to stay within the podium. Like, because of misqualifying, I didn't really know where my pace was. And then the first race, my brake wasn't calibrated right, so it was pretty hard to get a handle on the car. And pretty, even though I pitted early, it was pretty cool to go from 57th to 15th. And then, so yeah, I didn't really have any expectations for that second race because I didn't know how I stacked up. I knew in practice I was way behind Shane and Boyd. But yeah, as it turns out in the race, pace probably wasn't too far off those two. I think it's just that Shane was a little bit faster, but just way more consistent. So yeah, stoked to get a 15th and a third after starting 57th. So it's probably as good as I could have done.
Well, Jack, race 1 and race number 2 were both closely fought engagements with Mr. Wallace. Not much more you can really ask for. You drove your heart out tonight, and unfortunately, it looks like Shane Wallace has got that. It seems like 1 to 2 seconds every time in the pit stops.
Yeah, not too bad. 2 seconds is probably the best I could have done tonight. Obviously, yeah, Shane's just got that little edge on us, so hopefully we can just try and learn from him as the season goes on, and just try and get a bit closer to him.
The lap times.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Stu.
I was going to say, lap times throughout the night, relatively close between both of you. It's just in that pit stop, so fuel saving potentially throughout the stint, maybe the trick.
Yeah, I think so. Unfortunately, I have to really rag the car on the edge and use up every bit of fuel I've got to get lap time out of it to keep up with him. So yeah, if I can just improve that a bit, I guess I can hopefully get a bit closer in the next rounds.
We were saying earlier during the stint, it's really good to see the Boyd name back in Aus Pro-Am Sim Series. Did you get any practice in this week?
Yeah, I got a few hours of practice in this week. Thought I would try and get back to where I was back when I was in the first season, pretty good at it and doing it every day. So yeah, had a bit of practice, and I think that showed this week. Didn't make too many mistakes.
No, we certainly love having the Boyd family back involved with Aus Pro-Am Sim Series, Jack, and a good result for you here to P2s tonight. So well done to you. And Shane, again tonight, mate, the double W for you. The pit stops there critical to your wins.
Yeah, hey guys. Yeah, it was awesome racing. Like the first race was just a train, and then that second race I was a bit too cautious in the first lap, and Jack did an awesome job and gapped me, so it took a lot to run that down. But yeah, awesome fun, and top half of the field was awesome racing, and the back half looked like a bit of carnage. So I was happy to be up there.
Yeah, with a couple of incidents early in the race there to stick clear of. The fuel saving there definitely helped you through the pit stops there. But as you say, Jack did a good job to keep that pressure on to try and get a gap on you. You managed to make your way through those 14 that were in front of you and get it into the front of the race.
I wasn't really fuel saving. I was driving flat out.
Oh, I meant just, sorry, during the being able to get it done through the stops there.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there, but yeah, my pit stops were all right, but I don't know how or why.
Okay, well, anyway, it certainly showed a little bit of difference there in terms of the overall times in the race, and 2 really good, strong finishes for you to take both wins again tonight. Well done.
Thank you. Cheers.
Well, 4 races in the books for Aus Pro-Am Sim Series, 4 wins so far to Shane Wallace. It's not been as simple as that. It has been tricky for him. He's had to fight with Jack Boyd the entirety of the distance that race. He's had to fight with Jack Boyd nearly the entirety of the distance of the first race as well. It's quite close there at the top. Then you've got another few guys right there. Actually, Jack, I want to put the question to you about Ross Rizzo, because you had Ross Rizzo all over your rear bumper for an extended period of time in that second race there. He looks like he's lifted his game another step as well. So everyone's just sort of pushing each other a little bit harder, a little bit faster each week. And the competition is it's really coming to the fore in terms of how strong there are, not just the top 3 guys, but top 8 guys. You can throw a blanket over them. At any stage, somebody's luck will run out, and one of those guys will jump through and pick up a podium.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I know Ross from the V8 Scott series. He's been an absolute ace at saving fuel and working out the strategy. So yeah, always had him in the back of my mind. I mean, I'm pretty sure he pitted a bit early, but I think something might have happened. I was expecting him to be right up there. So yeah, looks promising for the rest of the series.
Absolutely.
Jeff.
So, I was going to say, guys, we might just quickly run through. Jeff, obviously, I know you run the Batmobile, mate, but just a quick shout out to those who follow you.
Yeah, no sponsors, mate. Just privateer thing. So, yeah, thanks to Sam and everyone for putting on a good show again. And you guys for an awesome broadcast. It's been good fun and shows with the quality of field. Everyone's enjoying it. So, yeah, thanks.
No worries, Jeff. Good result there into P3. Jack, likewise, big shout out to your supporters.
Yeah, just a big thanks to everyone for putting the series on. It's good to come back and not take it too serious and have a good Tuesday night on the sim.
Fantastic there. And last but not least, Shane.
I think Shane's got his mic muted, so I'm not sure if he's still with us. But
Mate, just
tell you what,
Shane.
Yeah, he has an absolute blast. That's the best part about this series as well. Is that no matter who you're talking to up and down the field, everyone's absolutely having a blast. It's just about getting out there, having it a fun and racing. None of these guys have to do setup tweaks, and is that part of the appeal to the series for you guys, both Jeff and Jack? I'll start with you, Jeff.
Yeah, it is for me because I got nowhere near the time or the skill to stuff around with the setup. So. Fixed setup makes it awesome, and the balance of performance is pretty good. It shows Shane's just driving better when he beats me like that. There's nothing else to it. So, yeah, and obviously Jack as well. He's driving awesome. Like he must have started 14th, and within 2 or 3 laps he was behind me. So that's pretty mega first couple of laps by him. Wasn't until I followed those guys and caught onto their lines that I was actually faster. But definitely fixed setup. I love it. I understand with the Pro V8 Scops that's open setup because it's a Pro series for those elite guys. But yeah, for us where there's Pro-Ams, I think fixed setup's perfect.
And Jack, I mean, again, fixed setups have always been a hallmark of the OzPass branding in the OzPass series. But is it what brings you here as opposed to potentially competing series? Is you more interested to come and race with guys in near identical equipment and go toe to toe?
Yeah, sure. I reckon, as Jeff said, like if you race V8 Scops, you can spend like tens of hours a week just racking your head of what's going on with the setup and how to get the extra hundredths of a second out of it. So yeah, it's good to come on. You can just come on without having practiced all week and be up there in the top 10 if you're good enough. So yeah, I think it's really good.
All right, well, thanks once again, boys. That was an absolute cracker. You had us on the edge of our feet nearly the entire night long, so we look forward to seeing you once again next week out there on the track.
A big shout out as well to the top threes from our Pro series there. It's Shane Wallace, Jack Boyd and Jeff Connell. We've also got the amateur series there, the results there. Daniel Webster taking out the race win there from Tim Harris and Graham Smythe. According to my timing monitors, Smythe, they're just getting ahead of Sam Lehman. So a big result there for the amateur series. Guys, what a race here. We've had 2 races tonight, the 20-minute and the 40-minute race, both of which are well-contested events, driven really well given the size of the fields. Looking forward very much to next week.
Yeah, very much so. It's going to be an exciting time next time out. And again, just some unfortunate accidents down the field. And I mean, when you've got so many cars out there, it's going to happen. Sadly, it's one of those things that it's going to happen. But just seeing some of the overtakes, seeing those guys going, 3-4 wide into that first corner and not crashing, it is just superb driving skill. And just what a fun race that was.
Well, eyes forward now towards next week, which will see us attending the newest circuit on iRacing. It is the Red Bull Ring with Formula One and the action packed across both weekends. George Russell barely missing out on a point in the second weekend. Mechanical failures ripping it away from him. Will he succeed at Silverstone when they're next time out? But Aus Pro-Am Sim Series coming to you from that Red Bull Ring. It's notorious for the ability to overtake wide open straights, drafting battles. The BMW's legs might just come to the fore next week out. We'll see if there'll be any balance of power changes. Your predictions for next week, Stuart?
Yeah, I think that BMW is going to be strong. I'm looking forward to the Porsche coming to the fore as well. We didn't really see it do much tonight. 8th position, highest it got. So let's see what happens, see if there's any BOP adjustments between the drivers here over this week. And certainly looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think qualifying is going to be key next time out. The Red Bull Ring is a relatively short circuit, and when we're going to have so many cars out there for qualifying, that's going to be an absolute... it's going to be a little bit crazy, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Qualifying going to be very, very difficult through a majority of the season. That's for sure, Carl.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it goes at some of the other races. Of course, FGM Ecast will be back with you tomorrow night for ANSCAR action. We're going to be running at Atlanta for a double header of Cup and Xfinity action for you. So we hope we can see you there as well.
Absolutely. So that brings to a close the show for tonight. The Aus Pro-Am Sim Series Season 4, Round 2, done and dusted. And we look forward to seeing you back here on FGM Ecast, your E-Place for Pace tomorrow night from 7:45 for the ANSCAR Thunder Series. And we will see you then. Carl and Scotty, thanks very much for a good evening. And to everyone that joined us on the stream, thanks very much. Hit the subscribe and follow button. Do what you need to do there, as we very much appreciate your support. And we will see you tomorrow night. Thanks for watching.